Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. We hear about the impact knife crime has had on the frontline NHS staff caring for victims.
Just become a dad, and it worries me about how, if things are bad now, how are they going to be later down the line.
I live on my own, so I don't really have anyone to talk to. I just end up processing it a lot in my brain and just overthinking.
West Yorkshire Police say knife crime cases are down, but the impact is still huge. Also tonight, the number of fines issued for fly tipping increases across Yorkshire. We spend time with the team clearing up the mess. Choosing between eating or heating, we hear about the support available for people in this cold weather. And we catch up with York band Shed 7 as they celebrate their first #1 album after 30 years in the game.
And Upper Wharfdale was looking like the Arctic today. Clear blue skies, temperatures remaining below freezing point. A very cold night on the way. Join me for the very latest.
Hello, thanks for joining us. First this evening, we're looking at the mental health impact of knife crime on the victims and the doctors and nurses saving their lives. Look North has spent several night shifts at Leeds General Infirmary to see how the trauma teams are dealing with stabbings. Now, you may find some of the images in this report distressing. Here's our social affairs correspondent, Emma Glasby.
The early hours of the morning, and a busy time for the trauma team at Leeds General Infirmary.
We've got a 41-year-old male who's got an ETA of 15 minutes, who's got one stab wound to the left side of his chest.
Camille was at a house party in Bradford when he was stabbed in the shoulder.
Run me through what happened to you. I've heard what the paramedics have said. What's happened from what you remember, love?
He used a kitchen knife.
Kitchen knife? Yeah. How big was it? Just give me an idea.
Yeah, something like
Yep.
that.
Okay. Straight blade that you can remember?
Yes.
Or did it have jagged bits on?
No.
Straight blade?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. It looks at the moment like he's got a relatively minor injury sitting in this location and will likely just need a number of stitches. So one of my surgical colleagues is coming and going to do that shortly. But yeah, he's extremely lucky given the incident that happened.
Camille physically will be okay. His stay in hospital will be short. But for any victims of knife crime, it's a terrifying ordeal to have gone through.
Well, it is now 3 a.m. It's a Sunday morning, and over the 8 nights that we've been here at Leeds General Infirmary, we have seen 5 people coming into the hospital with knife wounds. Now, fortunately, none of them had life-threatening injuries, but the staff here do see some devastating knife injuries and families' lives being destroyed.
And the impact can stay with the doctors and nurses after their shifts have finished.
It is very difficult. It can be very traumatising. I feel like a lot of the time when I see it, I just get on with it in the situation and I just work. Whereas when I get home, I find it difficult sometimes. I live on my own, so I don't really have anyone to talk to. So I just end up processing it a lot in my brain and just overthinking, and then it gets to me a lot when I get home.
You become quite normal to it. It's more when you get home that you can get quite worrying. I've just become a dad, and it worries me about how, if things are bad now, how are they going to be later down the line.
So you don't feel as safe because of what you're seeing in terms of knife crime in Leeds?
Definitely not. Me and my wife have talked about moving to other areas where I can still work but have less chance of knife crime.
It is a crime that has a lasting impact on the victims treated here, including those who are not seriously injured. In Bradford, Camille is back home after being treated for a knife wound to his shoulder, but he is struggling to process what happened to him.
I'm stressed. I have anxiety. I'm just like a flashback all the time, and it's the last few days I had nightmares. I'm scared to come outside when it's dark. It's not so easy to just get stabbed and just go live normal life.
For all the victims, the emotional recovery can be extremely difficult. It's a devastating crime that's hard to process for all involved, including those dealing with the aftermath on almost any shift. Emma Glasby, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Well, we do wish Camille all the best in his continuing recovery. We're going to hear now from Chief Inspector James Kitchen. He's from West Yorkshire Police. He told me that it's important to remember that as distressing as this is, cases of knife crime are falling.
Over the last 5 years, there has been a significant and steady decrease in knife crime across West Yorkshire. Obviously, any knife crime is one too many, and we see the impacts of that on a regular basis. So, as much as obviously we do share their concerns, we do share the high impact, but what we see is this isn't a large number of people, this is a very small number of people who have a large impact on communities and people's lives.
But you say the numbers are dropping, but the doctors and nurses we've heard from say they feel like they're seeing more cases of knife crime, and actually the instruments are changing. They're seeing more machete wounds. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I appreciate, there has been a significant increase in the use of machetes and the use of large bladed articles, and we've seen that as well. But we have seen an overall decrease, and what we've seen is that any person carrying weapons for that is only carrying it for a criminal purpose. There is no reason why anybody within West Yorkshire should be carrying any form of large bladed article. And, we continue to put extra patrols out 365 days a year to try and reduce that and combat that. And in the last 5 years, we've arrested over 10,000 people and recovered over 2,500 weapons from people off the streets of West Yorkshire.
Of the cases that we filmed, there were no charges brought in any of them. How can you convince the public that you are taking knife crime seriously and you're going to stamp it out?
Yeah, I appreciate that, but people need to take responsibility, so take some personal responsibility for it as well. This is parents being intrusive in what the children do. It's about people being intrusive in their friends and what they're doing, and communities having a strong anti-knife message. The police have a really strong message in that no person should carry a weapon. There is no reason whatsoever. And actually, people are more likely to become victims of crime and more likely to be arrested if they do carry weapons. So we've got a really strong stance on it, and I suppose what we need is the community and other people to have the same stance and to stand up and report what they see.
So for anyone who's watching who hasn't reported knife crime because they're probably scared, what is your message to them?
Is to report it. The police work with that. Not only do we work, obviously, from a police and criminal justice perspective, but we work with partners, communities, third sectors, and actually we're here for the people of West Yorkshire. We represent them, and actually what we need them to speak up, and we will support them in every way possible to bring prosecutions for people who are victims of knife crime, to protect those who are vulnerable to becoming involved in knife crime. And we would much prefer to prevent and deter it from happening in the first place and from dealing with the aftermath of what happens. So if we can prevent it and put early intervention in place, that's obviously our preferred option. But likewise, anybody who is carrying a weapon, we will prosecute them, and the law is getting stronger and the criminal justice is getting stronger with actually people going to imprisonment or on the first offence for carrying weapons.
Inspector James Kitchen, thank you for your time. Well, you can see more from the frontline NHS workers dealing with knife crime injuries and emergencies at Leeds General Infirmary. It's a full-length documentary called On the Frontline, the Knife Crime Emergency on BBC iPlayer, and it is a real eye-opener. Next tonight, we're talking about fly tipping. It's a blight on our countryside and on our streets. Figures released today show that the total number of cases are actually slightly down, but the number of fines issued are up. Let's take a closer look. There were just over 78,000 cases of fly tipping in Yorkshire and the Humber from 2022 to 2023. Of these incidents, 3,600 included waste that could fill a tipper lorry. Now, clearing the waste alone has cost the taxpayer nearly £650,000. Of course, finding people responsible for dumping their waste can be very difficult, but despite this, nearly £100,000 worth of fines were handed out. Mark Ansell has been out with a team of people working hard to clear it up.
Fly tipping is a scourge on the landscape. A team is permanently on the go in Barnsley, dealing with dumped rubbish.
Construction, stuff like this, doors, windows, it's just easy for people to come and tip because it's quiet. It's a shame, but it's just easy way out for people. How much will that cost to tip? Cost a fortune to tip, it's just easy. Tip it and let council pick it up.
Anecdotally, they've seen a rise in fly tipping here since COVID. They've cleared up most of the fly tip rubbish here, but the sad fact is that they'll be back here again next week because the fly tipping just keeps coming and coming. The council has a stark warning for perpetrators.
Barnsley streets are not your rubbish bin. Barnsley's parks and open spaces are not your rubbish bin. We will investigate you. We will seize and crush your vehicle. We will prosecute you.
The stats show that Bradford has the biggest problem with fly tipping in Yorkshire, with more than 15,000 incidents from 2022 to 23. But the Lister Community Action Group has transformed their area from a fly tipping hotspot to a place where they hold parties. They put in planters, gates and CCTV, and it's worked.
Looking out the window, you'd initially huge massive fires with cars burning. Then we had a huge massive pile of rubber right in the centre here. You would not believe what it is now. So the commercial waste has completely disappeared with the installation of the gates. We have like little bits of litter that we get into the ginnel, but on a whole it's greatly reduced, and we're very, very, very happy about that.
It's a pleasant route now, and I take it myself. I used to avoid coming up the Ginnel if I was getting from Wilmer Road to Heaton Road and up towards the mill, but it's attractive.
In Scarborough, burger bar owner Jamie is constantly having to clean up fly tipping in their car park. He's now invested in CCTV cameras to try to deter people from dumping rubbish.
It's household rubbish, it's dirty nappies, it's pizza boxes, it's empty mayo bottles, it's all sorts. Old toys and stuff. So you can tell it's definitely household, like family rubbish. It's disgusting, to be honest, mate, and especially because we're the ones that have to clean it up every time.
Back with the team in Barnsley, and it's not just the country roads that are blighted with rubbish. In between the houses in Thurnscoe is also impacted. They'll be back again tomorrow to do it all again. The battle against fly tipping is never ending. Mark Ansell, BBC Look North, Barnsley.
Certainly is disgusting, isn't it? You're watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. We're live in Sheffield, where over the next few days, the world's best amateur boxing hopefuls are warming up for Paris 2024. Now, no doubt you've commented on how chilly it is today. For those of us who were fortunate enough to be able to heat our homes, it's easy to just shrug it off as another normal winter. But even though energy prices are down compared to last year, fewer homes are actually receiving financial support from the government. So a Leeds bowling club is opening its doors to support the local community. The clubhouse in Hare Hills is a designated warm space. That's where people can get a hot drink and a snack if they're struggling to heat their own homes. Abagiola reports.
Frozen bowling greens don't deter these dedicated bowlers. 60 of them play in the Winter League. But the club think around a third of new members were attracted not by the sport, but by their warm space status. It's a place that offers much needed community support.
People can come to the bowling club. Obviously, we've got pastries, crumpets, hot drinks, soups. The bowling is an additional bonus, but we offer like warm hats, gloves. We are registered with the data bank, so we have preloaded SIM cards with data, calls and text messages. We've got Wi-Fi.
Those measures are especially appreciated in the current cold spell.
Knowing it's a place, where you can go with, if you need help with things and, a chat with different people.
I've just retired, and I wouldn't be able to afford to stay at home with the heating on all day.
While I'm here, my heating's not on, so I'm saving a few quid a day.
Last night was the coldest January night since 2019, and forecasters say tonight could be the coldest January temperature for 14 years. When the temperature drops, some people are faced with a stark choice between heating or eating. Charities in Leeds are giving out food parcels to help people cope.
Cost of living has hit everybody in a big way. Utilities, people can't afford to put their heating on. They're having to choose between food, what sort of foods we can buy. They're having very little in terms of what's the foods that they're buying. And then it's even clothing and other essentials for winter. So we're having to provide vouchers for winter clothing as well as food, and then helping with the utilities.
With colder than usual temperatures expected to last all week, places like this will be offering a warm welcome to anyone who needs it. Abby Jayola, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Let's bring you an update now on some other stories coming into our newsroom. The family of a 5-year-old boy who died after inhaling a drawing pin has heard in court this morning about the severe brain damage he suffered. Carl Lewis was taken to Rotherham District General Hospital in October 2022 after a surgical team were unable to remove the pin. At his inquest today, Dr Tim Haywood, a paediatric consultant at Leeds Teaching Hospital, told the court Carl had suffered more than 40 minutes in total of cardiac arrest with extensive brain damage as a result. A verdict of accidental death has been recorded on a Batley Bulldogs rugby player found dead just hours after making his debut. An inquest heard 20-year-old Archie Bruce had more than twice the toxic level of prescription-only painkiller in his system when he died. The 20-year-old was found dead in a hotel room in France 4 years ago after making his debut for Batley Bulldogs against Toulouse. The City of York Council has said it's had to make tough reductions to balance things this year in the budget. The cost-cutting measures, which aim to save up to £14.3 million, have been described by senior leaders as deeply troubling but unavoidable. They include increasing car parking charges and reviewing personal care and support. The proposals will be voted on by councillors next month. Now, the temperatures may be very chilly outside, but somehow you can sense the Olympic summer approaching, apparently. That's because over the next few days in Sheffield, the world's best amateur boxing hopefuls are warming up for Paris 2024. In the newly branded World Boxing Cup, Paul Ogden is there for us tonight. And I bet you're glad you're inside, but you're not, you're outside, you're in that chilliness.
This is definitely the safest place to be, Amy. By the way, I'm competing with the ring announcer. I think that's a job you should one day do for us live on BBC Look North. There's nothing like an international boxing stage. 100 boxers from 16 different countries are here from the creme de la creme across the world, and they're all Olympic hopefuls. Closest to home for us is a Yorkshire adopted boxer, Ivy Jane Smith, who's fought and been defeated today. As you can see, she was up against a very tough opponent in her flyweight bout, Maxi Klutzer from Germany. Very close contest, but afterwards Ivy Jane didn't hide a disappointment when we spoke to her.
Even though I wish it was a win, but I'll go back and I'll learn from something from it, and that's all I can do, really.
What would you say is the next stage now for you? What's going to happen next in, we hope, your pathway to the Olympics?
Well, I'm still looking at the qualifiers. I'm still going to give it everything I've got. You know, it's probably, it's my 4th fight in the past 6 months after 5 years out. So I'll just go back, have a little look at it, study it, the things that went wrong, hope to put it right, ready for this year.
And the stage is set for the final bout of the evening. Watched, as far as Team GB are concerned, by the boss. Rob, how serious a warm-up exercise for the Olympic qualification and selection is this?
Yeah, it's really serious. We've got the qualifier on the 4th of March, really important for qualification. The 2nd in the series, the 3rd is in May, but vitally important for the development and the preparation of the team.
Ivy Jane Smith didn't hide a disappointment and frustration today. Can you help her through that?
Yeah, she's been out of boxing for quite a few years. Ivy's only been back with us 6 months. There's a lot of experience in the opponent. She'll have learnt a lot of things in the ring. She can work on things. We'll go back and put things right. And it's just all a progression. It's all development. It's all positive learning.
Congratulations on your work so far, Rob. There's still 3 days of this to enjoy. For those who want to be here, we even saw Dalton Smith in the crowd today, the Sheffield champ from the Steel City Boxing Gym. If you want to come along, you can't just walk up. Go to ctickets.com for the creme de la creme here at the EIS in Sheffield. Plenty to enjoy over the next 3 days.
Certainly looks like it. Thanks, Oggy. And I stand corrected. You are, of course, inside, not outside. Thanks, Oggs. Now, it's been 30 years in the making for York-based band Shed 7. They've had 4 top 20 albums, but they never quite reached the top spot until now. Last week, they celebrated their first #1, A Matter of Time, aptly named. I caught up with the singer from the band, Rick Witter, at his home in York. Rick, congratulations, #1. You must be so chuffed. It's been a long time coming, this, hasn't it?
I know, it's amazing. I mean, 30 years, which seems to have flown by, to be honest with you, 30 years. But yes, incredible scenes in Shed World. To finally get a #1 after all this time is pretty amazing.
Not only have you got a #1, but you've also made the history books for the band to have the biggest gap between debut and #1 album.
Yeah, which makes me feel really old. but if there's any records to be broken, I'll try my hardest to do it. We found out that we outsold the entire top 10 last week on physical product, which is amazing.
So much has changed since the 90s, especially in the music industry, but people are still buying physical copies, aren't they? What do you think that's down to?
It's old school. It's what we grew up doing. You'd cycle to Red Rhino Records in York and you'd sift through the 12-inch singles, you know, looking for what you've come for and discover other things that you might never have heard of. I think the younger generation are kind of getting their heads around that now, and long may that continue, because just to hold something in your hands is a very special thing. So we've spent a couple of weeks travelling around, visiting record stores, playing some acoustic performances in a small record store. Queues around the block for people waiting to come and get this signed, which has been incredible. And it's just nice to be involved rather than just being sat at home, but it is very tiring because we're not getting any younger.
I mean, you weren't partying all day and night like the 90s?
Well, I tried, and after about day 3 I gave up.
What have been your favourite moments from the past 3 decades?
Well, I think at the beginning it was all really exciting because it was so new and we were young kids and we were suddenly being told, yes, you can go on top of the pops, and then you suddenly remembering hearing yourself being played on Radio 1 for the first time. So they were always really buzz moments for us. I think we just take pride in the fact that we've not veered off course. We're still the same band we ever were. We're just a little bit older and a little bit wiser. A lot of things, exciting things happening this year, which will roll on into next year and the year after. So I guess if you're a fan of Shed 7, I'd buckle up. And if you're not particularly a fan of us, hide behind a big rock.
How do you celebrate a #1 after 30 years?
I don't know, I'll have to come back to you on that because I've never done it before. So I will find ways of celebrating. I've not really got round to being able to do it as yet.
I'm hoping it's in 90s style.
If it's in 90s style, I won't remember it.
Enjoy the moment. Congratulations, Rick.
Thank you very much.
Just shows good things come to those who wait. Huge congratulations to Shed 7. Hello, Mr. Hudson.
Hello.
I'm here with Humble Pie. You were correct. It was just snow on high ground.
And -7 as well last night, which interestingly enough, we forget the cold snap in December, but we had -10 at Ravensworth, but it is very cold out there. Let me just show you a couple of pictures. This was taken by Tom. He's got a drone, he's got a new toy. That's Upper Wharfdale. You can see what a beautiful, it's like the Arctic, isn't it, in the Yorkshire Dales. And this was in Pateley Bridge, just over into Nidderdale, where temperatures didn't get above freezing point. So if you've got any pictures, send them to me on X, on Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. So let's have a look. First of all, the ice warning is still in place. The ice was terrible this morning. Still quite a lot of moisture around, so watch out for that this evening and overnight. It's very cold. It's already -7 at Goathland on the North York moors. Another couple of days of this cold, but the jet stream, the Atlantic, is racing back in through the weekend. It turns a lot milder, wetter and potentially quite stormy. Some very strong winds on the way, and that's the way of it for next week. There's a jet stream somewhere in there. It's going to bring further bands of wind and rain. Right, that's the radar picture. Nothing going on apart from a few snow showers just coming off the Aberdeen coastline, and they may well clip in to the North Yorkshire coastline by the end of the night. But it's already very cold out there. For most of us, it's going to be dry and it's going to be clear. There's a hint of a few snow showers towards that coastline later on. Temperatures really dropping away, lows down to -9, possibly -10 across the Yorkshire Dales, locally lower than that. York city centre, look at that, -6, so very cold indeed. Let's have a look at those high water times. A nithering coast, Scarborough 9:30, Bridlington at 9:56. So a few snow showers across more eastern areas. They'll move offshore through the day. Elsewhere, it's another dry, very cold and sunny day to come. Temperatures really struggling up to around about 2, possibly 3 degrees Celsius. Cold and sunny on Friday, but the transition is there through the weekend in next week. Look at those temperatures into double figures. That's the forecast.
Still not cold enough for trousers, according to my little boy.
No,
Really,
I saw
still
that.
wearing shorts
He
to
is.
school. I can't believe it. -7, I'm dressed like an Eskimo. Let's see some of your pictures. Good night.